Torah in 2 minutes-ish. How are we supposed to go about living in a cruel world? This I thought of, as I'm sure many of you did this week. I first heard of the horrible school shooting in Florida while I was preparing for Purim, specifically for Shabbat Zachor, which comes next week. This is a time of year when we read in the Torah of the troublesome at best command to wipe out the tribe of Amalek, this group of people that tried to wipe out the Israelites, and the Torah says you're supposed to get them first. And it's a difficult piece at best. And it was in looking at this that I came across a quote that I had heard quoted but never seen in the original. It's from the Midrash Tanchuma. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Kol na'asa rachamam al achsari, lesof na'asa achsar al rachamim. One who is kind to the cruel in the end will be cruel to the kind. And that was in my head when I heard the president's comments on the shooting, when he said that we must meet cruelty with kindness, which is the opposite, obviously, of the quote from the sages. And there's a time for each. There's a time, usually in our daily interactions, when if somebody is cruel, it's best to meet them with kindness. And for larger scale things, when lives are at stake, that's not always the case, as it seems the Jewish tradition is trying to teach. We are likely in a situation in this country when we have to choose. And it is worth remembering that in being kind to the cruel, we are in the end being cruel to the kind. It is not a perfect world, and in the end, choices have to be made. We live in a world where there is evil, and there is no obligation for us to be naive about that, but there is an obligation that we act with justice, and there is an obligation that we fulfill the mitzvah in the book of Vayikra in Leviticus, lo ta'mod al dam re'acha, not to stand idly by the blood of our neighbors, which is to say, it is fitting and proper to offer prayers for the victims of this tragedy and to their families. And there is a positive obligation not to stop there. There must actually be action and laws passed and support offered for those who will enact procedures to prevent us from being kind to the cruel and cruel to the kind. It is more than true that the Jewish tradition is realistic about this. There is a time to meet people to cruelty with kindness, and there's a time to meet it with firmness. Nobody should know this better than us, and at this most difficult of times, we should know that we're obligated to act. You should have a Shabbat of peace. Shabbat Shalom.